The goal of every organization is to maximize the wealth of the shareholders, but beyond maximization of the wealth of the shareholders is to provide a safe and favorable working condition and environment within the organization, and most importantly, become a good corporate citizen. Now, to achieve this, it means that leaders must set the strategic direction of the entity, put in place various control measures necessary in order to ensure the maximization of the shareholders' worth, protection of the employees' interest, and providing a favorable working environment, and also become a good corporate citizen. Now, that means that employees, subordinates, must also put themselves in the position where they will be able to carry the strategic vision of the management of the leaders of the organization to execute that. That means that in order for anything to be achieved by the company, there has to be a high level of collaboration between leaders and subordinates. In this day and age, the question we then have to ask ourselves is, how do we draw that line? How do we bring leaders in alignment with the followers, and how do we bring the subordinates goal in alignment with the leaders? Because one thing you must understand is that sometimes leaders feel the subordinates do not understand where they are going. Sometimes the subordinates also feel the leaders are neglecting them, not taking into consideration their views. But when that happens, it means there is a lot of friction within the organization and nothing can be done. And when that happens, it means the organization is headed to a direction which will definitely result into a corporate failure. In my presentation today, I want to share with you how we can handle the workplace dynamic to enhance leadership and collaboration. My goal for this presentation is to provide you with some tips, strategies, techniques on how leaders can relate well with subordinates, that is, being able to communicate, channel, empower subordinates, and how subordinates can also put themselves in the position to understand what the leaders are saying and drive on the vision and carry it so that the goals of the organization can be achieved. So, workplace dynamics, enhancing leadership, and collaboration. So I want to start my presentation with a popular Ghanaian proverb that will set the tone for us, and that talks about the importance of delegation and trust. Because it is stated in our Chi language that Obakofo ensa entumi nkatanya mieni, which means that one person cannot carry the vision, execute the vision, monitor the vision, and seek the vision to be accomplished at the end of the day. And so I want to share with you one proverb like that, which is a Ghanaian proverb, to set the tone for us, the importance of delegation and why we have to also learn to trust each other, which is the relationship between the leader and the subordinate. A monkey who tried to get three mangoes from three different branches in a tree at the same time fell on its back. I want you to look at that again. A monkey who tried to get three mangoes from three different branches in a tree at the same time fell on its back. What does this mean? It tells you that leaders cannot do the job by themselves. Board of directors, the management team, leadership of the organization cannot just say, yeah, we don't need anybody. This is the vision we want to accomplish, and then we will do it. No, there has to be some level of delegation, but that delegation must come with a trust. So the big question we then have to ask ourselves is, how do we enhance, how do we ensure that there is that level of collaboration between leaders and subordinates so that the organization can go ahead, do multiple things within the day, so all together we will achieve goal congruence and maximize the wealth of the shareholders, create a well and safe working environment, and most importantly, make the company to become a good corporate citizen? That question is what I'm going to be answering throughout our presentation today. So, what is workplace dynamics? Let's begin from there. What is workplace dynamics? Now, I want you to pay attention to the image on your screen right now. you can see in the image that everybody is coming in with something different. That is the idea of workplace dynamics. It's going to be different. People are raised from different home. People have different belief system. People have different mindsets. People have different their definition of what hard work is, what trust means. So you see from that image there, some people are smiling, some people are not. Some people are holding certain tools, others have different tools that they are holding. That is the concept of workplace dynamics, that we are not the same. So, yes, you may be the leader and you think your way is the right way the thing is supposed to be done. But probably there is a subordinate who has a different view of what you are suggesting, which may still get us to the outcome that we are looking for. How do we accommodate the subordinate's view without sabotaging the goal of the organization? How do we ensure that people feel heard, although we need to achieve a certain objective for the company? That is what we are going to be exploring throughout our discussion in this presentation. So for my one-liner definition, I define it as the interplay of behavior, relationship, interactions that occur within the organization. The interplay, that is the key word there, the interplay of behavior, relationship, interactions that occur within an organization. So, what are the key elements then of workplace dynamics? When we talk about the fact that, yes, there's going to be different people coming in with different mindsets and all that, what are the key elements that we can talk about? Number one, interpersonal relationship. That's very important there. So, the workplace dynamics starts with interpersonal relationship. Now, interpersonal relationship is the quality of relationship among co-workers, and that is about trust, respect, and the rapport they build among themselves. That is the first level, interpersonal relationship. Now, it is important that in order for us to enhance leadership and collaboration within the organization, to achieve the goal of the organization, there must be some level of interpersonal relationship. People must be respected, people must be trusted, and most importantly for leaders, you have to be able to build some rapport around what you want to do, because sometimes there are certain strategies, certain goals, certain objectives that the entity is seeking to achieve. Not many people would jump on it at the beginning. But when there is a high level of interpersonal relationship, respect for others, trust for others, there is that rapport among workers, then it will be easier and there will be less friction when strategic plans, strategic objectives, and goals are expected to be achieved. The second element we need to look out for here is communication patterns. Now, remember, how do we even execute anything within the organization without communicating it? So, in addition to the interpersonal relationship, communication is key within the organization. Now, this refers to how information flows within the organization, transparency, open communication channel, and a reduction of misunderstanding. One of the things leaders must ensure is to remove or minimize grapevine, which means that we don't want our employees to be going around gossiping, picking information somewhere on the internet. Somebody is saying something, someone else is saying something. That doesn't create an environment of trust. Because if an organization, for instance, is planning to reorganize, and probably the board has made the decision already to reorganize, but they are keeping that information, waiting for the final end or maybe at some later date before they communicate it, that may give negative vibe to the employees of the organization. And then once management have decided that this is what they want to do, the information is spreading online somewhere, or some employees have been given earlier access because of probably their connection with the board or something like that. They have earlier access. Then people will be saying, look at this. This is what this company is doing. This is what management is planning to do. Now, when this thing fester, what happens is that it destroys trust, because it means employees can no longer trust if management or determine whether management is doing something or not. And that is why sometimes, especially in our part of the world, maybe people are in a company, but they are still sending their CVs at various locations, still attending interviews because they don't know their faith in the company that they are in. Why? Because there is no transparency in the things that the company is doing. But if we want to carry the vision of the company, we want to maximize the wealth of the shareholders, we want to run companies that will live generation to generation, there has to be high level of trust. And that trust comes through transparency in the things that management is doing. Yes, sometimes we may have to make some difficult decisions. Sometimes we may have to take some difficult actions. It is not about the actions, it is the manner in which management communicates the actions to the employees and those to be affected. That is what builds trust within the co-workers, and that is how they can say, yeah, we will carry on this company, we will give our best to this company because we know we will not be left behind. If there is anything going on, we will be told. And so there has to be that level of transparency, open communication. There are companies where there are clear communication lines. I mean, you can't have an opportunity to talk to maybe the CEO of the company or even the head of your department. There is no audience. So that is a problem. So communication pattern is key. Number three is culture and leadership style. Now, if you pay attention closely, everything is going to be knitting together to enhance leadership and collaboration within the organization. So culture and leadership style. This simply refers to how things are done within the organization and who the leader is. That is, whether their leader is approachable, the leader is fair, and whether the leader value employees. So, what is the culture within the company? If you work for a company where you feel a sense of belonging, you feel a sense of fulfillment, you feel a sense that the work you are doing is being recognized, it changes your mood to give your best to the company. Why? Because what you are doing is being recognized. But there are certain organizations you don't even know. You want to have an audience with your supervisor? No, you cannot have an audience. Even if they give you audience, they are like, hey, can you make it quickly? I have a meeting that I have to attend. That kind of autocratic leadership environment makes the whole environment hostile because people are just, working around. They are afraid. Hey, when the boss is coming, everybody wants to be attention because you don't know, the boss can screw you up, the boss can say something because it's like the boss doesn't value employees. If you're a leader and you don't value your followers, you're a CEO of a company and you think, yes, you can sack people and you can get a new person to come in, remember, you are destroying the company because there is what is called a learning curve. When people have been on a job for a number of period, they become expert in it and it increases their efficiency so that within the shortest possible time, they can still achieve significant outcome. But if every cycle you are sacking people and re-employing, sacking people and re-employing, there is no way you can build any significant organization. That also means as followers, we need to put ourselves in the position where we plant ourselves in a place so that we work well. Sometimes it is not that the leader is not respecting you, but I think some people overdo it. Some people feel more important, that some people feel they are important than the objective of the company. And so, in as much as there has to be leaders recognizing and valuing employees, employees must also put themselves in the position where they value and recognize directions from the leaders because they know where we are going. They know sometimes what we are supposed to do to be able to achieve the goal. And then, certainly, conflict resolution. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this key element when it comes to workplace dynamics, conflict resolution. And we're going to be getting into this later on in my presentation. This simply refers to the way conflicts are managed and resolved. In every organization, conflicts are going to be arising. Conflicts about how certain strategies should be executed, conflict about what should be the budget, what should be the goal, what should be the objective, conflict about maybe which software to even buy, which assets should we acquire. All of those things are going to be coming up. The issue is not about the increasing, repeating, or repetitive conflicts. The issue is how management, how leaders resolve these conflicts. For instance, addressing the issues promptly, and then most importantly, harmonious work environment, a work environment where people feel at home, a work environment where people don't feel they are under attack, a work environment where people are respected, interpersonal relationship, and they can be trusted, and whatever it is about their job, it is communicated to them. These are the four key elements that we can use to describe what workplace dynamics is.